Time now is 4:39. James Hansen here with you on LBC. Let's turn to the situation in the Middle East. The White House is saying the US-Israeli military campaign against Iran should be completed in 4 to 6 weeks. President Trump has already ruled out any diplomatic end to the conflict, saying he wants to see Iran's unconditional surrender. We can speak live now to Ambassador Gina Abercrombie-Winstanley, US diplomat and former Deputy Director for the Office of Iran Affairs and Deputy Coordinator for Counter-Terrorism. Ambassador, thank you for joining us. Donald Trump wants Iran to surrender. How likely is that in your view?
Well, I think in the normal way of thinking about surrender, it is unlikely. But we heard the White House spokesperson say today that President Trump would be the determinant of whether he got his unconditional surrender. So he gets to determine. It's not based on what the Iranians do. So there's a lot of wiggle room there as far as definition is concerned.
And of course, there is a theory that what Trump is still kind of wanting is a negotiation. Is he wants some kind of deal with the Iranians, and of course he was kind of mooting that before he launched these strikes. He says that's off the table now. Do you think it really is off the table? If the regime said, OK, look, we will come to some accommodation, do you think the Trump administration would still go for it?
I think that, as you say, right now it's off the table, but we know that the president is mercurial. He changes his mind. Certainly the goals have changed repeatedly during the last 6 days of this war, going on 7 now. So that it's off the table today does not mean it will remain off the table. And it will also depend on the pressures at home as far as the president's determination of what is necessary. Certainly, the missile deal that he could have got through negotiations, certainly he's going to have to get that because of war. The additional demands of eliminating the missile program and undermining support for proxies, along with the economic openings that Iran offered during the negotiations. He really will have to explain if all of those things, the economic part were on the table, the missiles and the proxies were not. If he can get those through this war, then yes, he'll accept that as unconditional surrender or as a negotiated surrender.
I just have a scepticism, Ambassador, that is how the regime will act. And I wonder what you think, knowing Iran as you do, given this is a theocratic regime whose entire ideology is based on opposition to everything the United States of America stands for. And look at the response since these strikes were launched last week. They are coming out fighting. They have lost their supreme leader. I think they would rather go down in a blaze of glory than give in to the US.
I believe that surrender would be a long time coming. And I believe they think that as well, that they can hold out longer than the United States, than the American people have patience for this war, keeping in mind that there was very little support for it from the beginning. And the longer it goes on, the more quickly support for it is going to diminish.
How long can Iran keep fighting for? I mean, at what point are they going to exhaust their supplies of missiles and drones?
Well, we know very well that asymmetric warfare can be carried out for years. The United States has that searing experience of Vietnam, where asymmetric warfare basically defeated the United States, not conventional warfare. We had to deal with it in Iraq as well for several years after President Bush declared mission accomplished. So it's not that the missiles alone are going to lose them the war. If there is an insurgency, as there was in Iraq, that can go on for years. That might require American boots on the ground, and there is little doubt that there is very little support among the American people for American soldiers to go into Iran.
But do you think that's where we're heading? Do you think it is going to end up with boots on the ground?
He has said it's a possibility, and then you hear, no, we're not going to do it. There's a lot of back and forth. I think they will gauge American support. I think they will gauge what the economic impacts of the war are on American taxpayers with the elections coming up in the next several months, and of course the impact on our allies in the Gulf with the Straits of Hormuz closed. And the fact is, those can remain closed with asymmetric warfare, not necessarily missiles, but maybe naval drones or mines. So he's going to keep an eye on that. And that really is going to make the difference. Where do the American people come out on this?
I wanted to ask you, Ambassador, about the UK's response to all of this, because, of course, we did not join in the offensive strikes alongside the US and Israel. And Donald Trump has been very critical of Sir Keir Starmer and compared him unfavourably to Winston Churchill. And there has also been criticism from our allies in the Gulf about us not having a bigger presence there currently in a defensive capacity. Do you think Britain has dropped the ball?
That is not my initial thought. Certainly, as our special relationship and as an ally, if we've made the case, then we would expect you to stand with us when need be. But of course, we have had differences over wars in the past. As you'll recall, the United States was I won't say lukewarm over the Falklands Wars, but certainly the American people were not entirely understanding the need for that war. And I believe Britain was not entirely satisfied with U.S. support during that war. So we have a very close relationship, a special relationship, but we do not agree on everything all the time. I believe if the really push comes to shove and we really needed the UK to stand with us to defend certainly the homeland, we know that after 9/11, you were right with us, fought alongside us, even in Afghanistan. And so there's not a lot of criticism coming broadly from the American people toward England, toward the United Kingdom. Yeah.
And it's interesting you use the phrase special relationship, which often gets used when we're discussing the UK and our alliance with America. What do you make of that phrase? I mean, you are a seasoned diplomat, so I'm sure you say it because we like it, and the British press lap it up, and it sort of, it plays to our ego to think, yes, we've got a really special relationship with the US, but presumably you've got special relationships with lots of other countries. Yeah. In the cold light of reality, how important is the UK to the United States of America? Because you don't need us militarily, do you? You're a far bigger economic superpower. You're a far bigger military superpower. Do you really consider us your closest ally?
I believe we do. It's not just military cooperation or economic partnership. The cultural ties run deep and run strong and are highly valued by Americans, Americans of all stripes. So I was raised on them like every other American. And certainly, as immigrants, you come and you learn about the history, the origin of the United States, and the special relationship that is baked into how we think about the world. So from the American side, it's baked in.
Well, Ambassador, in the spirit of transatlantic friendship, thank you so much for coming on the programme this morning. Ambassador Gina Abercrombie-Winstanley there, US diplomat, former Deputy Director for the Office of Iran Affairs and Deputy Coordinator for Counter-Terrorism.